season is over. Our postseason grades are in, but not without a little bit of drama as Mohammed bin Salem, Toto Wolff, and Susie Wolff find themselves in a little bit of a legal situation. This is Into the Chicane, a Formula One podcast where your host, I'm Channing Apodaca.
I'm Brandon Wood.
Welcome to the show. Brandon, how you feeling about your postseason grades?
Well, I'm going to be doing them as we go along.
Okay.
So, but
You're doing yours live?
Yeah, doing them live.
Wow.
But I did compile some stats, so it'll be fun to go back through those and kind of look at the season again through a different lens and just kind of rehash everything.
Cool. This is the first time I think all season I've done a little bit of homework. I put mine together
For the first time.
Yeah. At the end of the season, I did a little bit of homework. I put mine together. Just finished it up right before we get started. But before we get into the grades, some shit went down this week where there was a supposed conflict of interest between Mercedes team manager, team principal, Toto Wolff, and his wife, Susie Wolff, who works for the FIA.
No, she works for Formula One because she's become the head of the Formula One Academy.
The Academy,
which is the new all-women's racing league.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What's her exact role?
She's the director, I think, of the F1 Academy.
So she's kind of head honcho there.
She's spearheading it. She was behind getting all of the teams involved for the next season because this first season was sponsored by a lot of teams. Some are like F2 teams, not necessarily teams that are on the Formula One grid. So what they announced earlier with the last F1 or the F1 Academy race of this year, that next year every Formula One team will have a sponsored car on the grid.
Yeah.
Some of which Red Bull said that they're going to have 3 cars.
Wow.
So she was the one that I guess spearheaded that whole thing and got the teams behind it. Definitely putting herself out there as the forefront of this new
nice.
division.
And so what's the drama that's gone on with this whole conflict of interest?
So I don't know if it was Friday or over the weekend. There's an article that came out from a sports publication based in Europe, apparently featuring some anonymous quotes from in the article says a former team principal. So unclear as to who that could be.
I have a feeling. Go on.
So this is directly from the article. It says the situation with Susie Wolff is rather more serious than may seem apparent. It is 9 months since she was appointed, and at first the team principals took little notice. But now they are seething as they have realized what is going on. A former team principal whose concerns were ignored back in April told this magazine, "Imagine that Jerry Horner or Raquel Stroll were appointed to head up Formula 2 or got a job at Formula 1 or Liberty. It would be a ridiculous conflict of interest. It simply wouldn't be tolerated. Susie Wolff's job at the Academy is just the same," he added. "This is a time bomb waiting to off, potentially even more serious than what happened in Singapore last year."
Wowza.
So for those who are not aware, there's been big controversy with the Singapore GP. I guess which came back last year, but the guy from Singapore who I guess was helping like bring the race back to Singapore and helped put it on just got arrested for corruption charges in Singapore. So saying that this is akin to that is a very serious allegation.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't really see the connection between the two, like how that would be a conflict of interest.
They're just saying that
Just the gravity of the situation.
Well, they're saying that that the teams are unhappy with the fact that Susie has this position and that she is in some way sharing information with Toto and the Mercedes team, and that is seen as like unfair to the other teams, right? So this article went out. There was got a lot of traction online. There's a lot of other publications that didn't report on the story for reasons of which were probably because they couldn't verify any of this information. So amidst this, the FIA on Monday, very early on Monday, announces that they're going to be doing an investigation into an unnamed F1 management personnel and a unnamed team principal. So even though they didn't explicitly say that they were investigating Susie and Toto, everybody knows based off of this article that's already floating around, this is what it is, right?
Yeah. So here's my question. What about her role would make this a conflict of interest? Because I fully agree that there is a conflict of interest here depending on what information she holds. So if she works for Formula One and her husband, who the man that she lies her head next to in bed every night, is a acting team principal, that is a conflict of interest. But if she only has X amount of information from Formula One that's pertaining only to the F1 Academy, I don't really see how that affects them unless they're giving F1 Academy information that they're not giving Formula One drivers and teams.
Exactly. Why?
So it's a little wonky.
Yeah, I mean, when she gets put into this role, right, there's going to be checks in place so that doesn't happen, right? There are many people who either work for Formula One or the FIA, and then afterwards, after that, go and work for a team, or they work for a team, then they go and work for FIA. And then there's people who are married, so people in other organizations, and there's a lot of that goes on, and they have checks in place to avoid these sort of things.
Organization. So
when this article makes a claim that all of the teams on the grid are starting to worry about this, and that there has been a complaint lodged, it was a rush on Tuesday for all of the teams to put out statements saying that we did not have any complaints. We fully support Susie and we fully support the F1 Academy.
Yeah.
And so
they're probably just covering their ass too. They don't want to be the ones bashing the F1 Academy in its second year. Bad look.
Yeah. Maybe, but it was seen by many how sweeping and how quick their statements came out that it was seen as a wholehearted pushback against the FIA's announcement of an investigation.
Yeah, because a bunch of teams came out and were like, we didn't say shit about this. So whoever is the person that's saying this is doing like a gross over exaggeration. It's like the type of shit that I do when I'm trying to, talk up one of my favorite players or drivers, and I go, a lot of people are saying this, and really it's one dude that I heard say it, and I go, oh, a lot of people are saying this is the next Gretzky, you know?
Yeah.
But really nobody's saying that, and it's probably just this person.
Yeah, so
because I saw multiple teams come out and go, we didn't have anything to do with this.
Yeah, and Susie had put out her own statement, just wholeheartedly rejecting the allegations and saying that she feels like it was just another attack on her credibility and her as a person, and was somewhat based in misogyny. And I can understand that coming from her perspective and how much she's probably dealt throughout her career, just to have like her credibility questioned just because she's married to somebody who's also a part of the organization.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if I would go there exactly, but like one of the big conspiracy theories that we'll get into about who it could be, I think it would be a more direct link to why they're going after her or these two specifically. But so let's spin some yarn real quick and who do we think would be the whistleblower? Who do you think is the person that did this? I think there are three major candidates.
Okay.
The least obvious of which I think would be like the first person that everybody pointed their finger at was Christian Horner.
Yeah.
Being like, oh, this is Christian going after Toto again. I don't think so. I think that's the least likely.
Yeah.
Of the people that I'm going to name. Second most likely, because of that former team principal line that came out, I immediately go Otmar Snaffauer.
Yeah.
Because he's done this type of shit before. He is no stranger to pointing his finger at other teams and starting the snowball effect to get folks in trouble. And then you pointed this out to me when you showed up, Mohammed Ben Salem.
So
I'm butchering the fuck out of that name.
Salem, yeah. So
Salem. I'm missing the Y.
There's like a few things going on with him, right? So I've seen things where apparently towards the end of the season this year, Toto apparently has been more vocal in like some of the like team meetings and stuff like that. And there's been some butting of heads between them. And, I know there's been tons of back and forth between just F1 management, Liberty Media, and the FIA about just the Andretti joining the grid situation. Yeah. There's a lot, there are teams being unhappy about how races have been managed and stuff like that. So a lot of things swirling.
He also came out and defended Michael Massey recently. I don't know if you saw that.
On the 28th.
Yeah. He was the one that not a lot of people liked.
Yeah, he basically opened the door for Mazzi to come back and be a part of the organization again. So, a lot of people see that as, okay, he maybe has a good reason to, have some sort of grudge against the Wolves, on top of the fact that there's also apparently he's not a fan of the whole F1 Academy situation. And I know that there's probably some sponsors of Formula One that are not too happy about the whole program. So for political reasons. So I think there could be some sort of pressure on him in order to tamp down the F1 Academy situation. I mean, the whole fact that the first season was not televised except for the last thing, to me, just off the jump, was so weird.
Yeah, it's like not televised. It's like if you weren't broadcasting F2 or I guess it would be closer to like F3 in terms of like the mechanics of it, and then the size of the teams, the quality of the drivers. But they still do put F3 on,
right? The
app at least. I don't know if it's broadcast on Sky Sports or.
Yeah, what we were told was that it was like a licensing thing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but they own it, so it's weird.
Whatever that means. So, but. Regardless, so Tuesday, all the teams rushed to make statements saying they have no involvement. They think it's all a bunch of nothing.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people upset that the FIA would start the investigation off of basically no evidence, right? And basically cause this whole issue. Thursday, FIA ends its investigation. No further action taking place. Today, on Friday, is the FIA award ceremony for the 2023 season. And along with that, we got a press release saying that FIA President Mohammed bin Sulayem, who was intended to take a bigger role in the proceedings, will not because of...
He hit his head.
He fell and hit his head and got a concussion a couple of days ago and is now ill. To me, this is huge red flags. Simultaneously, the same day as all those teams make a statement, basically seen as a gesture, as a wholehearted pushback against the FIA, he also somehow gets an owie and can't show up to work the next day.
Yeah, it's weird. I think if we were to string together a real conspiracy theory, I would say he was the one maybe pushing back on this, and if this is the case, I think that he's doing it to sully the reputation of Toto Wolff, because Toto Wolff, I think, is a threat to his job in the future.
See, I don't even know if I think it's more just, it literally is about Susie, and it literally is about the F1 Academy.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know.
Because it was a big deal at the end of the season for all the teams to announce that, or for it to be announced that all of the teams will be playing a much bigger role in it next season. So there's going to be resources taken away and there'll be more attention on it.
And I get that. It's because it's supplementally funded by
the teams and F1.
So it's essentially a money pit. Like that's what the F1 Academy can be seen as for F1.
Maybe or maybe not. I mean, if there's a lot of commercial,
make no money.
There could be some commercial value to it if you see, see some attention paid to it, but
maybe, but the way they're going to look at it from the start of it is it's a money pit, and it probably will be for the first few years at least. But the way I was thinking of it is, I think Toto Wolff has such a prestigious role within Formula One that he's a candidate to take over as acting race director, president of the FIA, something along those lines in the future. And maybe this is Ben and a couple dudes trying to sully the reputation of Toto and the Wolffs in general. Yeah, before it even gets that, like nipping in the bud.
But the thing that is very weird to me is the whole timing of it, right?
Yeah, it's just like, I mean, it would just be so dumb for them to try and put the kibosh on the F1 Academy after they just approved it. It's 2 years in the making. He's been in charge since this thing fucking started. So why agree to do this thing and then go, oh, wait a second.
I mean, maybe he hasn't.
Maybe
maybe it's been, I don't know. I don't know what's been going on. And that's part of why I think on Thursday it was when the FIA ended their investigation, Mercedes has launched legal action against the FIA because of the reputational damage that they feel they've incurred because of this. So maybe they may be looking for some damages, but also at the same time, like they're interested in the discovery and what information we can get from that, right? Yeah. So once all those emails are unleashed, and
Mercedes is going to go and get themselves kicked out of Formula One.
Well, that's what most people are upset about is there was no transparency in this whole process, right? Like when this story first came out, there was no coordination between FIA and F1 about the statement. Like there was a secret backdoor meeting that happened of FIA officials before the statement came out. And so like, what were they talking about? Who made that decision? Why?
That could be seen as a conflict of interest right there.
Exactly. So
the whole fucking sport is a conflict of interest. It's a bunch of people in each other's pockets.
I mean, you look back just to Ecclestone and the last director of the FIA, like it's so bad. Like,
I mean, dude, look at what's going on with the 08 championship. Ecclestone came out and said that Lewis did not deserve to win that it should have been Massa's. He said that. The fucking, whatever. This is one of those situations. It's like, I hate the fact that they try and put this shield over it. They try and, block our view of it when eventually all the information's going to come out. So just tell us now.
So, I'll end it with this. I was willing to believe that it could have been one of the teams that did make a complaint or there has been some talk about it, but like there wasn't like an official statement. So all the press releases that came out, you could maybe wiggle out of that some way. But seeing this MBS news today that he's going to be playing less of a role in the ceremonies tonight because of some injury that just happened out of nowhere. To me, that is
he's just ducking.
Sure tell sign that he was involved.
They're probably ducking while they can maybe backpedal.
Yeah. So.
Bad look all around, I think. Let's get into these fucking grades, though, huh?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the way I listed all my grades out, and for everybody listening, so these are just going to be driver grades. Maybe we'll do team grades at the very end.
Well, I think we got to do it same format as we did before. Mid-season, there's a team grade overall for just the team, and then each individual driver gets a grade.
Great.
So, last year we started at the back of the grid. So let's see, what team was it? Haas?
Haas finished last this year, yeah.
Haas finished last. So do we have a grade that you could give Haas?
Let me look. Since I didn't write down, I'm going to have to do this on average.
Altogether, we got, looks like 12 points for Haas.
God.
In the constructors' standings, 4 points behind Alfa Romeo.
If I'm splitting the difference, I have to go with... I would go C for Haas.
Really?
Yeah, and I think it can float around between a C and a C minus. It's going to be a C for me because they showed that the car has pace, just not finishing pace. And then one of their drivers, I thought, showed a lot of promise for what could be done. But I'm giving them the C because it was such an improvement. Even though like the results weren't really there, you could see on track that there was an improvement in the car.
Where?
In one lap pace.
I would say that they did not have any improvements throughout. If you look at from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, they basically had the same situation, right? Where they would have like some decent qualifying pace, but then come the race, it would all go away. And then they brought huge upgrades towards the latter part of the year. And what was that? At Coda, and
nothing happened.
Nothing happened. They were running.
Yeah, might be right. But I think they're like, it's a step up from where they were last year. I do think that they got better on their one lap pace. Their drivers were able to at least look competitive at times.
But they weren't. That's the problem.
I know, but they looked it like so there's a glimmer of hope there is what I'm saying. I mean, what do you have them at? I can go C or C minus.
I was going to say D.
D?
Yeah, just the fact that they weren't able to make any improvements.
Are we doing this collectively as a group or are we doing individuals?
Well, what do you mean?
Are we deciding together or are we going to do this?
I mean, we can. I would say we do it like we did first half. We decide together. If you got a C/D solid C, and I'm saying D. I think we can come together on a C minus.
Well, I can also be at a C minus, and you can be at a D. So why don't we go D plus?
Okay, I'm good with that.
What do we have them at mid season?
So mid season they had a C plus.
Yikes!
So no improvement there. Moving on to, let's see, Kevin Magnussen.
I have Kevin Magnussen at a D minus.
D minus. Okay.
3 points, finished 19th, 0 podiums, 3 top 10s, which would have been 3 10th places. And I believe, I'm trying to think which ones they were. Points. It wasn't Australia, so he didn't get a default there. Just barely eked things out.
Yeah, so they were pretty evenly matched in the race finishes. Nico finished better than him twice, 12 times. Kevin 10 times. Qualifying though, Nico outqualified Kevin 15-7.
Yeah.
So Nico definitely the better qualifier.
Bad season for Kevin. I think this was a season where you look at Haas and you go, they got rid of the wrong driver. At first, I was happy. Yeah, at first I was really happy that Kevin stuck around and Grosjean went because I was never that big of a fan of Grosjean.
I thought you were talking about Schumacher. I was like, wait.
Oh, I guess Schumacher. I was. You know what? I never even put him into account. Really. That to me was an obvious firing. But when you're talking about like the brass, the veterans of that team, you might be able to say that Grosjean should have stuck around. Maybe I'm looking too far back.
Yeah. So Nico then.
I have Nico at a B minus. 9 points, finished 16th, 0 podium with 1 top 10.
I would agree with that.
I thought for what they were given, he was the more consistent driver, and he was consistently in that like 10th place spot or just outside. Wait, 1 top 10? That doesn't make any sense. That's wrong. I miscounted that.
Let's see what I got for him. End of season stats, he's got 9 points altogether. Best finish was a 7th. 2 DNFs and 9 points altogether. So 6 points.
It was a 7th. He just looked better in qualifying, and by out qualifying his teammates so consistently and by pretty large margins, if I remember. Solid season. First time in a first year back in about 3 years. Mm-hmm. So that to me was like, this was a good season for him. A good welcome back, and he averaged about like 13th position, finishing like P13.
And if they had better, degradation on their tires, he would definitely have a lot more top 10 finishes. So.
Probably. I mean, you could say the same thing for K-Mag though too.
Yeah. So okay, well, moving on to Alfa Romeo, who got 9th place in constructors standings.
That's a D for me.
Yeah. Same here.
That team couldn't be any more fucking of an absolute nothing. They turned in the keys this year. They just handed it over to Audi, and they're like, we're fucking out. Peace.
Yeah, I felt like basically through the last 2/3 of the season, they were coasting, just thinking about the Sauber.
Both drivers to me,
year, so.
I don't think I could be disappointed in 2 drivers any more than I am those 2.
Yes.
But I think I would give them fucking last place if I could, but the numbers, back them up. So Valtteri Bottas, where do you have him?
I don't know. I'm really stuck here with Valtteri because, I think he did get hit with a lot of bad luck this year. So I think he, and just the struggles they have with the car. So his results can't really judge too much on his own credit. I think he got, he got 10 points.
Yeah.
Altogether, not great.
10 points, finished 15th, 0 podiums, 4 top 10s.
Yeah, he outqualified Joe 17-5. I think Valtteri, you at least deserve a C from me.
Valtteri Bottas has gotten a D plus from me.
Okay.
And I do that because I gave Zhou Guan Yu a C minus, 6 points, finished 18th, 0 podiums, 3 top 10s. I graded him higher above Valtteri Bottas because we expect Zhou Guan Yu to finish behind him.
Yeah.
So that's a more average or just below average for Zhou Guan Yu, but far below average for what we've come to expect from Valtteri Bottas. He is how many time race winners? 8 or 9?
Yeah, and just Mr. Consistency. But that's like I said, I think some of that is due to just the car he's driving. So
a little bit.
I don't want to blame.
He bounced all over the map though. Like one of his top 10 finishes came at the beginning of the season. 4 points. 4 of his 10 points came from an 8th place finish, and then 18th, 11th, 18th, 13th, 11th, 19th, back in the points at 10, 15, 12. Zero consistency. I felt like so much of this season he was phoning it in. And I said that before. I harped on it a lot this year, and I think that's just where I stand with him. I'm ready for Valtteri to be gone. That's where I'm at. I wish he didn't have next season. I'd rather see a young Ferrari driver. I'd rather see Ollie Behrman or somebody in there.
Pourchaire?
Tio Pourchaire, absolutely.
All right,
it's a wasted seat.
I guess maybe agree both get C minuses.
Where did I have Zhou Guanyu? Yeah. If you agree with the C minus for Zhou Guanyu, D plus. I can't give Valtteri a C minus. I can't do it. It's a D plus.
Okay. Expecting more, but I think it's not all his fault. So moving on, we got AlphaTauri, Honda, Red Bull powertrains.
Oh, this is a tricky one.
Yeah, 8th place in the constructors standings. We saw
4 different drivers.
4 different drivers throughout this whole season. Yuki Tsunoda racked up 17 points throughout the season. His best finish is a 10th. Had 2 DNFs. One DNS did not start. Where was that? That was Coda?
For Yuki?
Yeah, it was where he got stopped on the parade lot.
That was in Monaco.
Was that Monaco?
Yeah. Because that was Liam Lawson's first race, and he was the only one holding it down for...
You're thinking Zandvoort.
Am I?
Yeah. Monaco, that was way earlier in the season. But anyways...
I didn't mean Monaco. I meant Monza. Monza,
bad. Yeah. So Yuki outqualified his teammates 16 times. So that's pretty good for him. Finished better than his teammate in the race.
It was Monza.
14 times. That makes sense. So as a team, AlphaTauri, they did make improvements that last little stretch of the season.
It came late in the year. I think the first half of the season was a disappointment.
Yeah, definitely. Yuki, I think, got a lot of bad luck, struggled. I think Nick DeVries had
just a shit showing.
He struggled, but at the same time, it was also in the phase when the car was at its worst.
Yeah.
So I think he just really had a tough time.
He got a really bad shake at it.
But overall, I think, mid-season, we had AlphaTauri sitting at a D minus. I think
I can move him up to a C plus.
That's generous to me. I would say maybe C minus or up to a D plus.
Really?
Yeah.
For their second half of the season?
They did make improvements, but they were still struggling. For Yuki to only get his best finish, a top 10, I guess Daniel Ricciardo, his best finish was...
Yuki finished 8th.
Ricciardo was able to get a 7th, so...
Yuki was in the points 3 times out of the last 5 races, one of which he finished 12th in Mexico, where they didn't have a whole lot of a chance, I don't think, and then he DNF'd in Vegas.
So,
I can't put them any lower than a C minus.
I think that's pretty generous for them, but I'll go with it. So Yuki, then, what would you say?
I have Yuki at where is he at? I have Yuki at a B plus.
Hey,
17 points. He finished 14th, 0 podiums with 6 top 10 finishes. The beginning of the season was rough, and I thought he held it together decently. Not great.
B plus though, that's pretty generous.
Very generous.
I'm a Yuki stan, and I'm saying I'm feeling more just solid B.
I'm looking at it now, and I think it's a solid B too.
Okay, cool.
But I'm doing this relatively. We got to think of all these grades as relative to performances of not only the first half of the season, but last year too, and then comparative to their teammates. Yeah. And Yuki had a lot of different teammates. There was a lot of shit going on at AlphaTauri, and he had a pretty solid season considering. He had 3 different teammates. Yeah. So a lot of this season, when he wasn't DNFing, you could say he was on his own.
Yeah, when he's in that situation, he's basically having to set up the car by himself through this because, the other driver, it doesn't have the same bearings to be able to.
So B plus or a B? I feel like I'm talking myself in and out.
I said B, so if you're willing to go there, then
I'll go B. I think that's fair.
De Vries, we gave him at the midseason. He got an F. So
Hasn't changed for me.
Okay, so
That is
you only
an
got
F.
like maybe one extra race since midseason. So Daniel Ricciardo has a bit of an abridged return to the season.
Daniel Ricciardo, 6 points in 7 races, finished 17th, 0 podiums, and 1 top 10 finish.
Yeah, they got that 7th in there. I think the couple, was it 1 DNF or no DNF? So he finished?
I think he finished every race he started.
Yeah, so
it's a B for me.
B, I mean, considering he took most of the year off, came back, got the injury, left again, came back, and got a decent result after coming back. Like,
he wasn't even a reserve driver for the AlphaTauri team. He was a reserve driver for Red Bull. So
yeah,
everything that he was everything that he was testing on the sim and all that was a different car. So when he hopped in that AlphaTauri, completely different setup.
Yeah,
in quotations, until the last half of the season. I'll go B. That's fine.
All right.
It's I mean, that's you're grading on a scale.
So him and Yuki in the same boat. So
yeah.
Liam, what was it? 4 or 5 races he did.
Liam did 5 races. He has 2 points, finished 20th, 5 races, 0 podiums, 1 top 10. It's a B+ for me for Liam Lawson. I thought he looked outstanding. I thought he was able to hold his own in his first season. So not only were these his first 5 not only did he race 5, these were his first 5 races in F1, and he looked phenomenal. He looked like the future of that team, if not Red Bull Racing.
Yeah, agreed.
And everything about his, post-race interviews, how he said he expected more even when he got points in his first race. I thought he just held them together. Like if this was the F1 video game and you're doing those phony little post-race interviews, he would get points. How they jack up your credibility or whatever. So he gets a plus from me.
Yeah, same. I would agree.
I thought he was the bright spot of AlphaTauri this season in just 5 short races.
Looking forward to see if maybe he makes another appearance next year.
I'm looking forward to that blonde Flo coming back. What a beautiful fucking rosy cheeked little Kiwi, huh?
Okay, moving on to 7th place in constructor standings, Williams.
Man, what a split decision this is.
So mid-season, they got a B from us, Logan, a D, Alex, an A-.
It's going to stay at a B for me.
Okay. I mean, considering last year they finished last, right?
Yeah.
To finish 7th this year with the amount of points they did. Just altogether great. James Fowles doing an amazing job.
Yeah, it's
keep it up.
Williams is one of those teams. It's a big thumbs up, thumbs down team because they showed so much brilliance. Like they look good in Mexico, all these high speed tracks. They look great going into Vegas. Qualified P5 and P6. Holy shit! And then what do they finish? 16th and 17th or something like that. So it's a big thumbs up, thumbs down. So for me, they don't move.
Yeah,
they stay at a B.
Yeah, I think next year, if they want to keep that B, they need to see. I want to see some consistent.
They need to keep moving up. It's got to be 6th or better for them.
6. We need to see both cars in top 10.
Yeah,
at least one race.
They need to. They need to surpass that 30 point, 35, 40 point threshold to
it's
really,
possible.
really
it's
start
possible.
Solidifying themselves as a team on the rise.
Yeah, they need to develop
because it looks like they are. And then some shit just goes awry, like in Las Vegas.
Yeah, they need to develop that floor a little bit. So Logan had a D mid-season. What would you say now?
It stays the same. 1 point. Finished 21st, 0 podiums, 1 top 10 by default because Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton disqualified at the U.S. Grand Prix.
Okay.
That is his only point on the season.
I would agree. Alex.
Before we even get to Alex, let's continue with Logan. He won the Destructors Championship, cost the most amount of money in all of F1, and his seat was questionable up until postseason when they decided to re-sign him or announced the official re-signing. And, I mean, the number of DNFs, if I can count it real quick.
Oh, I have it right here.
Yeah, how many DNFs did this guy have?
Guess.
7.
Yep, 7.
7 DNFs, and that's not those are race DNFs. That's not considering the amount of times he put it in the wall or in the gravel trap in qualifying in practice. Like that guy.
Here's the thing: he wasn't the only one
with 7 DNFs. I would say Carlos might be up there.
Close.
K-Mag had to have been up there.
Close.
Who else had 7 DNFs?
Esteban Ocon.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
And I think I gave him a good grade. But he had a good season overall.
Yeah.
Aside from some things, in the beginning.
Yeah.
But so Logan Sargent stays at a D for me. First season, so he's getting the benefit of the doubt. His teammate Alex Albon, however, I have him at an A.
An A, solid A. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Alex just, he earned all those constructors points basically by himself.
Mm-hmm.
So all those tens of millions of dollars that Williams earned because of just him, I think A straight out the gate. Mr. Consistent, just kept his head down, faced some adversity, had some struggles, but brought it home. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do next year and after that.
And where he goes.
Exactly. So
27 points, finished 13th on the season, 0 podiums, 7 top 10s. If the rumors are true that Ferrari is sniffing around, I think they got themselves a good one there.
Yep, exactly. So moving to 6th, Alpine Renault, like we said, Esteban Ocon with his 7 DNFs.
Yikes, dude. Let's do the team and then we'll talk about Ocon.
Yeah, because as a team, it's like...
It looked brighter towards the end.
Which is weird because they haven't had a team principal since half through the season. So.
They had their season like just this real weird mixed bag of things where, all the fuck ups at the beginning of the season, the mistimed pits, did they get a false start at the beginning of the season?
Yeah, Esteban got like a 6 or 7 penalties.
Misplacement on the grid, and then they fucked up one of his pits.
They collided with each other at one point
in Australia. Yeah. They were a big reason for some of the chaos in Australia. Yeah. So, but then as the season went on, they really, really honed it in. I think they started working well together. The team kind of, without a team principal, seemed to like band together. They got this giant celebrity-packed ownership group. So they really turned their season around. They had a great showing at the end of the season. Mm-hmm. They looked really fucking great in Vegas when everybody thought that they were going to have a tractor. They, I think, turned their car around just in time. It's going to be C+, B- area for me.
Okay. Let's see. Mid-season, they got a F.
So that was easy. So a C+ would be, I'll go C+.
Okay. For how well they were able to keep it together. I mean, they had a consistently midfield car, right?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at a kid or you look at an adult and you go like, they really don't have their life together that great, but considering they were an orphan, they're doing pretty well for themselves.
Yeah, considering all they've had to
considering they came from a broken home, you're like, and he worked his way all the way up to management. Good for him.
Yeah, right on. So I think C+ is a very very generous.
That actually puts a smile on my face. Ironically, I have both drivers at a B.
Wow.
Yeah, okay. Pierre Gasly, 62 points, finished 11th, 1 podium. Esteban Ocon, 58 points, finished 12th, 1 podium. So pretty on par with each other. And then if you were to look at what happened in Vegas with them forcing Pierre Gasly to hit the brakes and let his teammate go by.
Yeah.
Controversial. And I think they did that twice actually this season. Pierre might have actually had a much better season than Esteban Ocon.
Hey, I mean,
much better.
Yeah, but the fact that they were so evenly matched throughout the season, I think is good for Alpine. They need that.
Yeah.
That consistency. And the fact that those two were able to get along for most of the season, I think is great.
Yeah.
Although I'm sure the potential for them to have animosity between each other was much overplayed in the beginning, but I'm sure there's always possibility for that to become a problem. So
yeah, Esteban Ocon I think had a much better season than people anticipated he would once he got his shit together. You reminding me of 7 DNFs is questioning my B, but then his qualifying lap in Monaco was kind of like his saving grace because it was just such a worldie. I don't know. How do you feel?
See, Pierre only had 3
DNFs.
So I mean, you think if Esteban had 4 less DNFs. Maybe
he might really have smoked him.
In the races. They were matched. Pierre outqualified Esteban 14-8. So
wow. So where do you have those guys?
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say maybe C+, but if you want to go B, I'm happy to go there. So
I'm feeling C+.
Okay, for both of them.
Yeah, I'm gonna change your mind. C+. Excuse me.
Okay. So then I think who do we got next?
That was 6th. So now we
Aston
have
Martin, 5th place.
Oh.
Last year they finished 7th, and then at the beginning of this year they had moved themselves up to 3rd. So
they were P2 for quite a while.
True, yeah.
And then 3rd. So it's like you got to take into account that yes, they had this stellar beginning of the season. They had a real stink fest in the middle.
In the mid-season report, we gave him a B+ for our first half. Lance got a C+. Fernando A-. So
I am going to go with C. The way that they leveled themselves out. But no, because this is the season as a whole, right? This isn't just second half of the season.
Yeah. Overall, it's a step up from
last
season. So they definitely get a upgrade there. They did have that lull in the middle of the season. Caused by what? I'm not sure.
Yeah, but it's a B.
A B, okay. I mean,
maybe a B-.
Okay.
I mean, if one of their drivers didn't phone in half his fucking season, it would be a solid B, if not A-.
Yeah, I mean,
if they had 2 real drivers the entirety of the season. So, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
B-?
B-, yeah. Otherwise, I would say lower, but I mean, just looking at it in just on face value compared to last year, I think they have
Lance
a lot to be happy about. So Lance, I would say we gave him a C-.
It stays for me.
Nothing that he did really
never stuck out. He really pissed me off in the middle of the season.
I will say this. His solid finishes at the end of the year, he got what, a 6th and a 5th. I think make up for a bit of that lull in the middle of the season that may have been caused by just some issues with the car that he got caught out with and just maybe was struggling to get a hold of it. So I'm willing to say that some of these last finishes of the year kind of make up for it. But
yeah, and he looked really good in the beginning of the season, battling through 2 broken wrists. But just really, really quickly fell off. I hated his attitude throughout the year. All those post-race interviews, all the driver press conferences where he just couldn't have cared less. He had a really bad attitude. It looked like, we had conspiracies floating around between the 2 of us that he was on his way out. I don't like how his attitude dictates everything with that guy. It's a C- for me. Let me reread his stats. 74 points, finished 10th, 0 podiums. And that a lot of that is comparative to his teammate, who I got him at an A-. He finished 4th, 206 points, 8 podiums, a lull in the middle, but for the most part, consistent, was even out driving that car when that car looked bad.
So even though the second half of the year, maybe not as good for Aston Martin, we're willing to look at the whole season to say that they really did, they did earn the rating that we gave them earlier.
Yeah.
Right? So, okay, cool. Moving up the line, we got in 4th place, McLaren.
Oh boy, let me look where I have their 2 drivers. Okay.
So mid-season, they were struggling still, maybe on the up.
We had to have had them at like a D.
B-.
We had McLaren at a B- mid-season?
Mid-season, yeah. So Oscar B+, Lando B-. So, considering that, I'm sure there was some upward trajectory happening for us to be able to give them that rating. So,
yeah, they had to have been on the up and up around then. I'll go B+.
Okay. Yeah, for them to be able to catch 4th like that.
From basically back of the pack. So big upgrade package, saves their season. They did get a lot of podiums. A lot of, they had you know what? B+ maybe it's an A-. They set the record for the fastest pit stop this year. They are now the top contender, I think, to challenge Red Bull next year.
Yeah, more so than Mercedes.
I think so. That's the way I'm feeling. So I'm going to go A-, McLaren.
I support that.
The way they turned their season around.
Yeah.
I think they were a good factor in any bit of excitement that was going around F1 towards the end of the season. Oscar Piastri won a sprint race. Yeah, A-. I got Oscar Piastri.
Did he win a sprint race
Yeah.
or did he get the second?
No, he won a sprint race.
Did he really?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Was it Sao Paulo? No, Max won that.
But anyway, yeah, so Oscar, I definitely was going to say a B, but I mean, with the sprint win, I'd say B+. It might have been...
Yeah, I have him at a B right here. So 97 points, finished 9th in his very first season, 2 podiums, and a sprint race win. I had him at a B, despite the fact that he did win that sprint race. Everything after that, he fell off. His consistency fell off, his qualifying pace fell off a little bit, and he was outperformed by his teammate by a pretty wide margin from that point in the season on.
Yeah.
And his lack of experience started to show. That rookie shine kind of came off.
Yeah, a couple of moments where he was just a little overzealous and ended up taking some damage.
Yeah, him and Lewis touched a couple of times.
Him and Carlos.
Yeah, so what are you thinking? B+.
I think
That sprint race is doing a lot of heavy lifting here.
I mean, but he also just had some great finishes.
Yeah.
He had 2 podiums.
First
overall.
season.
I think B+.
B+, let's do it.
Lando, I'm willing to say B+ as well.
I got Lando at a B+ also.
I think he did really, really, really good. I think what keeps me from giving him an A is
small mistakes.
Not even that, just how he handled the small mistakes, right? Because he was so down on himself in like the post-race interviews and afterwards that I think that in some ways affected his confidence, and I think just kind of compiled and maybe made things a little worse for him. So I think, that's tough. It's tough to make that distinction, but I think he has some room for improvement.
Yeah, 205 points, finished 6th with 7 podiums on the year.
Yeah,
I think he could have contended. He did contend for race wins a few times. I think he could have done a little bit more contention, and he could have put himself on pole 1 or 2 times, maybe even won a sprint race or 2 if it weren't for tiny, tiny mistakes like we saw. What was that? Was it last race of the year? Was it in Abu Dhabi coming around that final corner? All purple sectors. He comes around that final right-hand turn and touches the fucking rocks and ruins his last lap. It was shit like that consistently over Lando's season, and it's almost becoming Lando's calling card that when he needs to be perfect, he is just below. So he's just below an A for me at a B+. Still my motherfucking boy. Still my fucking boy, dog.
Ferrari.
3rd
place, constructor standings. It was really tight between them and Mercedes. Came down to the last, 10 laps of the race in Abu Dhabi. But nonetheless, Ferrari, we gave them a, C mid-year with Charles Leclerc a B- and Carlos Sainz a B. Do you think there's any change there? I feel like
a B for me.
A little bit of an improvement for Ferrari. I guess they did maybe towards the end of the year kind of bring it together.
Yeah.
Carlos was able to be the only driver to be able to beat Red Bull this year.
Only driver to win a race outside of a Red Bull seat.
Yeah. So
he was very consistent, except for a couple races towards the end of the year where some bad luck really struck him down, and then I think he just didn't deal with that very well. Carlos Sainz, 200 points, finished 7th. One win. I'm not going to get to say that too often. 3 podiums. Did you know that he only podiumed 3 times?
Yeah, that's rough. Let's see. Where's he?
But I felt like over the season, he was more consistent.
Yeah, that's weird. I mean, maybe not podium-wise, but like just standard points-wise.
When things were going right for him, he was able to hold on. He did have a bunch of DNFs.
Yeah, he had 2 DNFs, 1 did not start.
Yeah.
Charles had 3 DNFs, 1 disqualification, and 1 do not start. Jeez. And then they were evenly matched in the races. And then qualifying, Charles outqualified Carlos 16-6. So
that's not going to look great for my grades then, because I have Charles.
But that's okay, because it's not all about qualifying.
Yeah.
So
I have Charles at a B and I have Carlos Sainz at a B+, which is completely counterintuitive because on paper, Chuck beat him everywhere. But Carlos, other than that, he had the 1 win. He just, I thought, over the season handled himself better, was more consistent. And we expect a little bit more from Charles Leclerc, especially when you're qualifying on pole 16 times and you do not eke out a single win. Oof diddy, oofville.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah.
So I'm with you there. Second place, constructor standings, Mercedes. Mid-season, let's see, they had a B, George a B-, and Lewis a B+.
George had a B-. Nothing moves for me on that front.
Just all
nothing moves. So I give Mercedes a B.
I feel like
B+ maybe. They did move themselves back up. They made the decision to get rid of the side podless car.
Yeah, but to me, that's too little too late.
I feel you.
I think judging the whole year for them to finish second, I think is good. It's mostly Lewis's doing, but I think there was a lot of mistakes, strategy wise and
true
on track. So I think I was willing to, even though they did clinch second in the Constructors' Championship,
it could have been a cleaner.
It could have been cleaner. It should have been more dominant. I'm gonna have to downgrade him to a C.
C+.
Okay.
All right. I have George Russell, 175 points, finished 8th, 2 podiums at a B-. He didn't move for me.
I'm with that.
I'm president of the George Russell Hater Fan Club, of which you are the co-chair. Want to give him an F, but credit where credit's due. He talked a big game up against his teammate, the 7-time world championship greatest of all time, Lewis Hamilton, and came out on the worst end of it. So B-.
Didn't work out for him. So
and I got his teammate, Lewis Hamilton, at a B+. 234 points, finished 3rd with 6 podiums.
I mean, so I was going to say B+, but I feel like I want to root for or argue for an A for him. Because Lewis's, if you can believe, so he had one DNF and 1 DSQ. His worst finish all year was in 9th place.
Where was that at?
I forget. I don't know. So to me, that's just so super consistent. He and George matched on qualifying 11-11, but in race finishes,
it was in Abu Dhabi,
15-7. So to me, he smoked
his teammate. That's your biggest comparison.
And then maybe he had 6 podiums, which is pretty good. Not as many as like Fernando or the Red
also
Bulls,
didn't have the car. I thought this was like Lewis definitely took last season off, right, for development. We saw Lewis on his way back up this year.
That's what I'm saying. Like all those things, like to me, him doing as well as he did this year and securing second for Mercedes, like shows why he's an 8-time world champion.
Yeah, I want to present this argument though. So you said like the worst he finished was 9th. Yeah, that's as bad as it got. He also had 7th, 8th, 6th, 8th, 6th.
Those are all point scoring positions.
They're point scoring positions, but to be like, oh, it was only 9th, he had a couple that he floated around there as well. I'm willing to go A-.
Okay. Yeah.
I've moved myself closer to the goalpost of being on Team LH. I never will be, but I'm understanding it more, and I'm putting a lot more respect on Lewis's name.
Well, that's what, because
he's the GOAT. All right,
that's what I'm saying. Like the way I'm looking at it, right, is you put him and George in the same circumstances.
He beats George,
and Lewis, being the world championship winner that he is gonna get Mercedes that second place position. You know what I'm saying?
We should dock George more points, maybe from a C- to or a B- to a C+ for what he did in Singapore, but we won't. We'll just fucking move on. We've bashed the poor gent.
4 DNFs for him.
Yeah,
so.
we've bashed that poor kid all season long. Red Bull Racing, it's an A+.
Yeah.
Fastest car ever built, Adrian Newey design.
Blah, blah, blah. I think the one part we do have to litigate is Sergio Perez.
Yeah. Closer to last place than he was to first place, while still finishing second. 9 podiums, 2 wins with 285 points. Checo looked good. Start of the season, we thought we're going to have a championship battle. Max quickly nipped that in the bud and said, nah. Checo had some real trouble mentally this year, despite the fact that he, was able to eke out that second place. It came down to the last 2 or 3 races that he might have lost that, which is really bad considering your teammate won 19 races this year.
Mm-hmm.
So to be in that position, tough. He has the second most wins, which is sad with only 2.
So
second most podiums with 9.
Mid-season, we gave him a C-.
Okay.
So
then B is comfortable for me.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like a B would be pretty generous. Like you said, him finishing the way he did is kind of like just baseline. Like that's where you have to, right?
Yeah.
Like, so he kind of did bring it together at the end. Had some great battles and just like entertainment wise, he was a part of some of the best battles of the year. So
yeah,
Checo
made for some fun shit.
Yeah, so
I was about. It's funny. Go ahead, finish.
No, I was going to say a B.
Yeah,
is very
B
generous.
feels fine. I was about to wrap it up. I forgot we still have to grade Max. I don't even know how many times this year we didn't even announce who won the race because it was almost so obvious. But Max Verstappen, 575 points, finished first, 21 podiums, a record-setting 19 wins, takes his 3rd World Drivers' Championship. If ever there was something higher than an A+, that man deserves it. He is in contention in the coming years to be considered one of the GOATs. And that's needless to say.
Yeah, so the only other outstanding business I think we have is figuring out race of the year.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we can save that for another time. We'll probably do one more episode before the end of the year and then take a couple weeks off. Come back top of the year with some new stuff, some fun stuff, and get ready. We got how many months until?
Oh God, it was 90 some odd days the other day. So we're probably looking about 88 days. So about 3 months till the start of the season, till testing in Bahrain.
We'll do some fun stuff before our season starts.
Yeah. Who knows what can come? We'll be back with. What do we say? Race of the year, and then whatever news and notes pop up. This is Into the Chicane, your postseason grades. Look at me in the camera. Hi, bye.